Hey, how's it going, everyone? Hope you're all well. I just wanted to talk about a couple of things that I've been thinking about lately. I'm working on several projects right now of a more, serious research nature, but I just kind of wanted to stop and do this as just, I don't know, I guess sort of an update and talk about some of the things going on now with the whole fake news agenda and YouTube censorship and a few other things. I'm guessing that by now almost all of you have heard about YouTube changing its algorithms in the past month or two. Of course, they deny having changed anything, but even some of the most well known content creators on YouTube have been screaming about this lately. And, people who have nothing to do with conspiracy or topics that are even controversial, in this sort of vein, have been noticing that there's been a huge change in their views and the sources of their views, and all sorts of things. So, in a way, it's kind of been reaffirming, to be honest, or a bit of a relief. I mean, there was a period of about a month ago where, honestly, I would be lying if I didn't say I was starting to kind of wonder what was going on, if I was, doing something wrong, or because I was definitely kind of noticing an overall dip in my views on some of my videos that and it's hard to say like exactly all what factors into that, because obviously you've got the weird thing is that I'm still pretty small potatoes in terms of compared to so many other channels out there, and that's fine. I've never been trying to be huge and make it about views, but it is weird. As time has gone on, I started out and I would be thrilled just to get if I got 1,000 views on something, it was like amazing to me. And then as things kind of pick up and just doing more things over time, and that's what's been strange, is that when you see that your subscribers have gone up and almost doubled from the point of where I had videos that were some of the most watched, and now it's something just definitely seems to be up with just it's just not lining up. But whatever, that's never been something that has been a huge issue to me. What has been, it is weird. So I wanted to mention it, that yeah, I have noticed it, but I'm also just kind of wanted to talk about it because I don't know, maybe I just need to vent. But I know ultimately the whole, first and foremost, this whole thing started as just a sort of a cathartic exercise, just like writing was, and it will remain to be that. And like I said, I'm working on some real interesting research topics that I would be researching whether I was sharing it with anyone else or not. So I'm perfectly happy to just share whatever I come across, and that's what it's all about, whether it's 10 people or 10,000 people, whatever. But what I've also noticed, and this is what I think probably bothers me more than things like view counts and stuff like that, is I've also started noticing weird things with comments. Like just with this last video out, it was only up for a couple of hours maybe, and at one point I remember it said 25 comments, and there was 12 that you could actually read. And then I'd go in and check the the spam folder or whatever, and there was nothing in there, or nothing. And so yeah, just little oddities like that. And speaking of the spam folder, that's been something that has been also recently just in this last month that has been kind of bizarre, because for many months I sort of had this thing going on where, or probably for about a year, where there would be, you click on the spam folder and they would say, it would look like there would be like 12. It would say that there was 12 in the folder, but it would show it as empty. But it kind of plateaued at that for months and months and months. And then suddenly, about a month ago, like I said, I started noticing all this weird stuff. And as you can see now, my spam folder will say like 60, like there's 60 comments in there waiting to be moderated, and I can't see them. So they are presumably lost, and that's just, and it's just showing 60 that have been eaten up, and I don't know how many more may have actually been lost in the YouTube server somewhere, or whatever. And that really frustrates me, because of the interaction and the feedback, and that's one of the most valuable things of all this to me, is just being able to kind of interact through the sharing of information and comments and everything, and just the encouragement that I've gotten from so many of you. So if your comment has gone missing, please know that it's not because I'm ignoring you or deleting your comments, because I rarely do that unless somebody's being completely inappropriate. So yeah, lots of weirdness, but another thing I wanted to touch upon too is just overall something that I've been kind of thinking about for many months now. But now that this whole YouTube censorship thing has kind of come to the forefront, it's just made me think about it more specifically. But just the overall, I suppose, frustration with the fact that, and this might not be directly related to any sort of filtering or algorithms or anything. Maybe this is just driven by the ratios of types of content or whatever, but specifically within Flat Earth, when you do a YouTube search for Flat Earth, let's say. I don't know how many of you have noticed this over this year, but something that I have noticed is that but specifically when you do a YouTube search for Flat Earth, and again, I don't know exactly how it used to be, but when you do that search now without any specific filters, now the vast majority of results that come up have nothing to do with any sort of biblical Flat Earth presentation, and if you just go through the first page, the second page. I mean, a lot of these videos are good videos, and I'm not trying to say they're not, but ODD's got some great ones, and Eric DeBay's got some good material in terms of Flat Earth on certain levels. Obviously, I just did a video talking about his false teachings regarding monism and Eastern mysticism and everything. But at the end of the day, or the end of the year here, I guess I'd be lying if I didn't say it was a little discouraging to just kind of look back and go, this Flat Earth thing is coming up on 2 years now since it first kind of blew open. Obviously, people have been around longer than that, but I'm saying since it became a thing. But yeah, at the beginning you had, guys like Rob Skiba and, and several others were certainly prominent voices in the midst of all these other, Gnostic spiritual perspectives. And there was definitely within the quote-unquote Flat Earth community, there was a strong Christian representation. And yeah, Skiba's still out there, and Skiba's still looking into Flat Earth on top of his other Torah stuff, which I won't even get into. But yeah, the thing is that having kind of interacted with so many people now and been making these videos and having this overall I feel like at this point I have a pretty good overall sense of, I'd say at least half of the people that are looking into Flat Earth now are believing in the Bible to some degree. Maybe that's a little off or whatever, but if you compare that to what you find if somebody just randomly searches for Flat Earth, you're not even seeing anything about a biblical spiritual understanding, and that troubles me. I have to say that is discouraging, considering that's how much I've been trying to kind of focus my Flat Earth material towards is the spiritual ends. And I don't know, so I've just kind of been stopping and just reflecting on all this. But yeah, if you look through, here's the first, you look through all the first page, the second page, it's only down here on like the third page, the third or fourth page, where you see a single video even talking about God. I started watching this one, and it seems like it's pretty good, but that there's way more out there, and it's not about me. All my videos are pretty short, but no full-length documentary yet. I'm thinking about doing some kind of a larger project, so be praying about that if you want, or if you want to submit ideas. I basically kind of would love to put something together that was just kind of more walking through the whole history of the cosmic struggle between the kingdom of heaven and the kingdom of darkness, and do it through a cosmological lens, and try and kind of put things like the Genesis 6 rebellion and the Tower of Babel, and just the whole Babylonian Antichrist, the mystery school dispersion throughout history, and the whole history of the quote-unquote conspiracy and all that through the cosmological lens. And I think a lot of people would really respond if it was presented in a way. And right now I don't know, man. So I'm just kind of venting here, but I mean, this is what I don't understand, when you try and put time and effort into making things that have some sort of substance to them, at the same time kind of being fun to watch or whatever, and then you might get a few thousand views, and that's great, and then you turn around and you see something like this. I saw this like the other day, posted 2 days ago, and it's got 28,000 views. Flat Earth, you must see this. And the thing that irks me about this, nothing against the person who put it up, I mean, I don't think they're not saying they're doing anything wrong, but this isn't even a Flat Earth video. This is just 14 minutes of a clip of a presentation, probably 20, 30 years old. Some guy talking about the the canopy theory, the firmament being the canopy around the globe. I mean, he's standing in front of a picture of the globe Earth. This is a heliocentric globe Earth based theory, and it's all about, how supposedly before the flood, because you had the canopy, the atmospheric pressure was greater, and there was higher oxygen content, and so, most of you already heard of it, but this has nothing, and it's maybe there is something to that even within an enclosed cosmology, but he doesn't mention it. He doesn't even talk about it in the video. It's just a clip of a 30-year-old heliocentric based presentation, which is, that's fine, but it has nothing to do with flat Earth. But 28,000 views. So okay, whatever. And that's just kind of what I admit gets frustrating when, you look at over time, you see the kind of stuff that gets lots of views, and it's hard to just, not get frustrated by how it just seems like so much, you can pour so much effort into something, but then at the end of the day, it seems like a lot of times it just comes down to, a clickbait title, or, and I've really just not wanted to fall prey to that, not wanted to get sucked into all that nonsense. But it's hard, and you just see stuff that honestly probably took, all it took was the time to upload it, and it wasn't even, there's not even a single edit in the whole thing. It's just, 28,000 views. Anyways, so yeah, I'm just, obviously I think, these things are frustrating, but in the context of what's going on, I think in the grand scheme of things, these are kind of minor concerns, temporal concerns, and ultimately I think being, dealing with things like views and comments and things being sort of soft censored through social networks and the internet is at some point going to be the least of our problems as followers of Jesus. So we really need to kind of keep our eyes, having the big picture perspective, having the eternal perspective, and not that this stuff doesn't matter, and I guess that's why I'm sharing it to you. It's like I'm human. I think about it. It's, I'm just trying to kind of figure out what to focus on, what to put my energies towards, what I should bother taking the time to invest in. But yeah, right now I'm just trying to do some more in-depth research, looking into the whole topic of atomism, and it's sort of, which of course goes back to the Greeks, and actually goes back to Pythagoras, interestingly enough, and the Platonic solids and Democritus and a bunch of other guys. And there's a whole sort of variety of things of atomism. But what's really interesting is to see the progression from. It was also in India, in the Far East as well, as starting out as a philosophical and really a spiritual concept, and then how that eventually influenced atomic theory and the modern atomic theory. But what is really interesting is I'm learning about how in the intermediary, in that transition, when you look at guys like Newton and Kepler and a bunch of other ones who were involved with things like alchemy and Kabbalah and stuff, it's really interesting once again, because I think when you follow the strain of atomism, you start to really see another, this is a really telling example of how something that started out in, Greek and Eastern mystery school centers. So anyhow, yeah, it's really interesting stuff, and just in terms of the whole progression of scientism through the branches of a sort of subterranean occultism, like I said, alchemy, and something called corpuscularianism, which Newton and all these guys were adherents of, which is basically a modified atomism. So yeah, it is pretty fascinating to look at things like atomic theory as being just like so many other things, just like evolution and heliocentrism, which you can trace the roots back to ancient Greece and mystery school, the mystery school cultures, and not the Hebrews or biblical culture, obviously. So yeah, that's really interesting. Hoping to put something out in the next couple of weeks on that. Maybe a few videos. But anyhow, thanks for letting me rant a little bit, and just love you all, and talk to you later. Or topics that are even controversial, in this sort of vein, have been noticing that there's been a huge change in their views and the sources of their views, and all sorts of things. So in a way it's kind of been Hey, how's it going, everyone? Hope you're all well. I just wanted to talk about a couple of things that I've been thinking about lately. I'm working on several projects right now of a more serious research nature, but I just kind of wanted to stop and do this as just I don't know, I guess sort of an update and talk about some of the things going on now with the whole fake news agenda and YouTube censorship and a few other things. I'm guessing that by now, almost all of you have heard about YouTube changing its algorithms in the past month or two. Of course, they deny having changed anything, but even some of the most well known content creators on YouTube have been screaming about this lately. And, people who have nothing to do with conspiracy